Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. Now, in this episode, I had an interesting discussion with Bradley Rapier, founder of Groove Mindset. Forsaking a medical career, Bradley devoted 30 plus years to street dance, excelling as a performer, award-winning choreographer, and a creative director. At the University of Southern California, he crafted groove theory, catalyzing a cultural shift in the LA dance realm and reshaping hip-hop universally. His groundbreaking work propelled him to the top of entertainment across television, film, and theater, from LA vibrant scenes to New York stages. As a keynote speaker and a workshop leader, he inspired audience engagement, fostering transformation and a mindset shift. His skillful storytelling prompted reflection and action, receiving a glowing feedback. Now, team training or department training is a critical part of every business strategy, whether you're trying to scale your company or simply trying to improve on corporate culture. And let's face it, corporate training could be boring sometimes. Challenge for business leaders is first to get attention from their staff and then hold on to that attention while delivering critical company training. Bradley's approach, combining entertainment and corporate training, solved that very problem for a lot of businesses. He talks about step-by-step process, how to combine these two, so your staff not only learning very critical training that you're trying to provide, but also enjoying the process as well. This was fun discussion. I had a great time talking to Bradley. I hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. Don't forget to send me your feedback and subscribe to this channel. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is someone very special for me, as Bradley Rapier. Bradley, the area of your field, definitely, a lot of business need that engaging to engage their staff, whatever that sort of communication is. Typical training gets boring over time. Definitely, they need to spice it up a little bit. So I'm looking forward to learning from you. Looking forward to understanding what you do. So thank you so much for time and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, and it's great that we have connected. And I'm American, but I'm Canadian. I was raised in Canada, and I was just in Toronto last year. So it's the fact that you're up there. We're kind of crossing over. I love that as well.
So what you were doing in Toronto last year?
Oh, I was choreographing a film. It was a pretty awesome situation. I had, through my years of working in the entertainment business in Los Angeles and getting to some pretty high levels, I got connected to some people in New York, to some projects I was doing. I directed a show for the director of Hamilton, not Hamilton itself, but I did a couple of projects for him, Tommy Kail, and he was producing a film for Disney last year called World's Best. Amazing film. Love the story. And so in that, they had a director who was very good, Roshan Sethi, who came in to direct the movie. It was about this young math wizard that it kind of touched my heart in a sense of there was a relationship to my background, because it wasn't the exact same, but this young math wizard who's on a path to becoming an engineer, math person. And his father, who had passed away, he finds his father's diary, and the diary has poetry in it. So he makes this dream in his mind that his father was a rapper and an MC. So it's this sort of coming of age story of him having these times with his father, kind of fantasy moments where they perform on stages and dance and perform at school and do all this stuff. So I was brought in to choreograph all those scenes, and it was a great story. And the cool thing about it was the whole project, the people involved, the director, he had a great experience, but he hadn't necessarily worked with movement and storytelling through movement. And because I'd worked with the producer in that way, they brought me in. So World's Best, I think it's a film that you would love as a family. It's on Disney Plus. It streams now.
I see. So people can find it on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. World's Best. It's
beautiful.
It's pretty great shit. Great show.
I'm gonna check it out, and I'll put a link to that as well below the video as well. People can go check it out. Sounds like a very interesting movie.
Yeah, it was.
So walk us through, Bradley, for our audience. What do you do at the Groove? Groove Theory. That's the company name. So what do you do, and how did you come with an idea?
Well, it's kind of funny. I walked away from a pursuit of a career in medicine when I grew up in Calgary, and I immersed myself in like 30 plus years of street dance culture. The pop-in and the lock-in and all that stuff. I dove into that, and it was very early on. I actually became part of a pioneering group in Canada that was part of the original group that was introducing popping and boogaloo to the whole nation of Canada. That was my start. And I was dove into it. And in that journey, I learned so much about myself over these years. And one of the main things that happened in the culture, and people can relate to this, when you've seen dance and dance films or dance movies, or been at a wedding and there's a dance circle that breaks out, there's that circle that forms, and you kind of are on the side, and you kind of get those little moments where anybody, whether it's a grandfather, an uncle, a friend, you kind of get that inkling, I want to get in there, but you go where you don't go for whatever insecurity or just doubts you have. Well, in the culture, one of the things that I was trained in for so many years that developed what I do is that you have no choice but to step in the circle in the culture. You can't stand on the edge and be a copy. You won't be, after some point, it'll be like, look, dude,
get in.
Right. And so over the years, like, it didn't matter whether I was just a beginner, let's say, Bradley, step in the circle. It didn't matter whether I was in just got to New York or LA, or I was around some, legends that I'm just now learning, get in the circle. It didn't matter if I was in Korea or Japan, another country, another language, get in the circle. It didn't matter if I liked the music, hated the music, get in the circle. It just didn't matter. So I had to go through this process for myself. I had my own anxieties and apprehensions and fears and instabilities and stuff from my past, and just life itself, things that we go through that had caused in me certain amounts of just not knowing enough of who I was, or was I worth anything, or how does it work? How do you connect to people? So I went through the process of overcompensating and, comparing myself and all those things that we go through, and finally got to this place where I understood that to step in the circle, there was a certain way to do it. And so that process of getting in the circle, everything that's involved in that, I say that one of the journeys as I went along, I realized as I was watching people around me, and I saw it when I got to LA. I got to LA from the journey, and because of where I was in the culture, I started a gathering there to surround myself by the culture even more. And that gathering grew into a movement that actually launched a lot of the classic, countless iconic artists and dance groups in Los Angeles. And we became quite a group ourselves. I launched a group called the Groovaloos with my wife and the members. And the Groovaloos became a really, not maybe a household name in the country, but for Los Angeles, we were a core group because we were celebrating that freestyle that I got attracted to. I was celebrating the idea of the individual stepping into this thing that was so authentic that I was searching for. And I was celebrating that. I was celebrating all the styles mixing together. That was new. And that really caught on and became quite a movement for 20 years out there. And in that process, that regardless of as I rose in the entertainment industry, in television and film, and as a choreographer and performer and producer and all these areas, off over to theater and New York as well, I started to watch and see that whether I was talking to the executives, the C-suite, or I was talking to the production team, the workers, or the artists or the individuals, there was this grounding that those that, regardless of the chaos, which entertainment industry can be very stressful, spontaneous, like that, these guys could find a grounding that allowed them to still innovate and unify and lead in the middle of it. And I saw the reflection of that stability and that grounding in the culture, in that street dance culture of stepping into a situation and finding that grounding. And that's what I recognize. What I say often is, it's not the move, it's the groove. And I realized it went right back to when I first saw the dance. I went, all that movement and the cool movements they're doing are very cool, but it's not the move. There's a deeper groove that you're stepping into. And so it begins with that. And so I bring those analogies of the culture. I bring the analogies of the street dance culture and the mastery within it and my experience in all levels of it to the corporate space, to leaders and entrepreneurs, coaches and teams, and people themselves. But I really help the people that are out there leading and influence people that are looking to help people's lives to say, hey, where are you and your ability to step in the circle, to go from what I would say feeling disconnected and unqualified and living small to getting to feeling grounded and confident, and I would say living fully alive in the groove, and what that's like, and how that then bleeds out to your team for all the productivity and motivation, and how that changes how we communicate and step into a different way of bringing the unity of the team.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very interesting. Definitely, we all have a different skill set, and that I think that all apply to the move, for humans, right? But I think the groove what you just mentioned is a lot more maybe mindset, a lot more an internal instead of just a physical skill set, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, when I say groove theory is really a pathway of activation and discovery towards a groove mindset. I call it a groove mindset that really affects all areas of life, from art to business and relationships.
So what does it take for somebody to get in a groove? Some people maybe in a group, some not. If you can talk about what is the difference between those people, what you've been learning over the years, and what does it take to the person to get into groove, and could that be taught to other people as well? Is it a skill set? Is it a learnable skill set, or is it some people have it, some people just don't have it?
Well, it's interesting. I think, whenever you think about what people are, let's say, born with, right? There's obviously some things that we do have that we more naturally are attuned to. I have people in my life that in dance, for example, that I have a friend that I used to be kind of, first when I first was coming up going, man, this guy, why can't I do this? Every time he would dance, I never saw him off beat. Like I never saw him just out of the groove. And yet I was sort of bouncing around initially. So I think there is obviously things that we have, some people are just better at numbers, and there's things like that. It's getting to know who you are that's important, but you definitely can train in this without question. The statement I say in groove is, who you are spontaneously is often who you spent the most time practicing to become. So you train to trust. I call it training to trust in the groove.
So say it again. I want to make sure that nobody misses it. So that was very important. So what you said, who you train. Sorry, if you can go back to that.
Oh, absolutely. Who you are spontaneously is often who you spent the most time practicing to become.
That's powerful. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because I talk a lot about the balance of foundation and freestyle along the training, along the discovery. When I do activation sessions and groove theory gatherings, it's very much engaging, interactive. It's not a dance class, but I use the analogies of the culture. I'll bring in live musicians sometimes, a dancer, to be able to show these analogies, to guide people, break the walls down so they can kind of enter in. But the reality is that when you are doing whatever you're doing in your life, conversations, getting better at speaking, I found, in terms of the question you asked about what I've noticed a lot of, is that I work to people get more awareness of the groove, and we can talk about that in a second. Like, what does that mean? The groove, and then eventually to step in the circle, and to know what freestyle is, and to understand how to, I say, get off the edge of imitation and step in the circle. I truly believe there's no substitute for the process. I truly believe that all people, it's crucial for everyone to step into who they're designed to be, and then bring that authentic voice into the circle in the context of community and relationships and businesses and art and life. But the one thing I noticed is, as we go on that path, the same things kind of come up on the apprehension as to why people stay on the edge. Why do you stay on that edge of the circle? Because there's different layers of the circle, which we can get into. But when you're on the edge, knowing you're being called in, I love this quote by Seth Godin. He says, well, it's one of his books. He said, it's what to do when it's your turn, and it's always your turn. It's a great, it's one of my favorite books of his. And the idea being, when you get, I need to say something. I need to contribute. I have a contribution here. I have something to say, or whether it's movement or speaking or creative ideation, whatever it might be, an incubator. And why don't you go in? And the same obstacles come up every time. I'm not good enough. I'm boring, not qualified. I'm not ready. Can I just write something up and just, submit a white paper? Can't I just have someone else do it for me? No one wants to hear from me. What do I have to offer? It's different variations of that, but it comes to a sense of, I'm just not, no matter how much, motivational talks people have been to, even the top people will kind of go, I don't know if I have something to offer besides what I have prepared. And so that's the main one. So what I train people and lead them towards is that endpoint understanding that life isn't always choreographed. Sometimes you got to freestyle. In life, things are going to happen. We know that. And we have to step in the ring. So how do we step in the ring? How do we step up to the plate? How do we take that time when we need to get in there? And we know we do it in other areas of our life. So if we're able to, let's say, react to a challenge in the family, or well, then, okay, you did it. You did step in. And so it's a bit of a process, but the process is stepping in. So what I mean by that is I spend time with different activations and exercises after discussions tied to that, to keep having them step in different ways. In a sense, you're almost, I don't want to say this quite as exactly, but you're almost tricking people into not realizing that they're in the circle, that they actually went in. We were doing this thing and they're like, oh, now you're in the circle. Or actually having them be in the circle, and I actually put people in a circle. Like I actually create it when I'm doing live gatherings, of course. I create circles because I discuss the layers. So the outside of the circle, outside of it is that represents the trolls, the Twitter, the self-judgment, the kind of not wanting to really get engaged at all, but wanting to comment on it, and we all do that sometimes. We're outside, kind of the fear keeps us away. We're kind of like either fear or we're just judging it, or we just want to yap about it, but not really get involved. Well, at some point you decide, okay, this is a circle of engagement, of creativity, of people, a conversation. I'm going to step in. So finally you step into the edge of the circle. Now the edge of the circle I love what a circle represents. I've said this, I share it in my own journey, that I was going to be a doctor, right? I had the whole linear path laid out before me, almost like that movie I described. The kid was supposed to be a math genius, and that's it, be a math genius. And I love school. I was an academic and an athlete. My father was a doctor. My uncle was a doctor. I mean, it was kind of, I was the last youngest golden child going to be a doctor in Bachelor of Science at university, is when I actually saw the street dance, at that time. And I think that, not that there's anything wrong with those pursuits, of course, but a lot of the linear path method, a lot of the idea that you do this to do this to do that, and it leads to that, and just that idea that we're still kind of stuck in some regards with education, with the way we set people up, the way we, for example, kids get older and they just say, hey, where are you going to college? What college are you going to? Instead of like, why are you going to college? What college? What would you want to do? What are the dreams you have? Discussion of what is really happening instead of just this linear path. And so I believe that I think a lot of that assembly line mentality is broken. It's been based on some fear, some one-dimensionality, especially from certain generations passing it on. And I believe that line is broken, and that line is now a circle, and we have to step into that circle. And so we get now to the edge of that beautiful circle, and that edge, when you're on the edge of an actual circle, the excellent example that we do in our activations, or I do in my trainings, or in experiences that I bring together, is that when you stand on the edge of the circle, you can't hide anymore, right? If you're in rows of chairs, you can be in the back row, you can be taking a snooze, you can be checking your phone, you can be whatever. But if you're in a circle, then you're okay, and now everyone can see me. So if I do anything, and if I do check out, people can see. So I start there, just this awareness of, think that you're in circles, that you are all shoulder to shoulder. You're all united shoulder to shoulder with a central focus that you engaged in. And that might be the conversation. It might be the situation you're stepping into to communicate, to meet a client, whatever it might be. One-on-one, it's still a circle. We're having I call a verbal cipher, I call it right now. We're in the circle. We're going back and forth. And as you then realize that edge is needed. We need to be on the edge sometimes. Sometimes we need to be there, supporting, observing. Someone's got to turn the lights on, make the place work. It has to happen. But we all know that time when we kind of get the inner layer where it's almost funny. You can see it physically when people are, let's say, in a gathering and someone kind of steps a little in, but they don't kind of go in, they're wrestling with that fear of the center. So the center of the circle is a totally different environment. And so I don't try to say to people, oh, it's just a piece of cake. Just get in, get over it, get over yourself. Because that's not true. I mean, this is not exactly the same, but people say some of the scariest things they have to do is, fear of public speaking, right? Yeah. So it's that idea of like, but what I do in different ways, and I'm very much, because of my ability and my training, I've done so much live things. I didn't go to school, for example, to become a dancer or a choreographer or a producer or a host or a director. I didn't go to school for those, but I've trained a lot in them. And by continually being in the circle, so I'm very, I built an ability to, there's other people do this very well as well, but to read the room, to sense what's going on, to encourage, to bring out the best in people, find another way, try another way, try another way. What's a way to get them to see what they're putting in front of them that has them view this circle with such fear? And so that would be the thing that I really want to pass on to people, is that as we go through this process, we start to understand, because I'll ask questions, of course, as we go through. Okay, Gurmeet went into the center just now, and we had him tell his life story while walking in a circle and looking at everybody with eye in the eye, and he got a sense of that awareness of something bigger than just the central spot and looking in the light of the audience. But now we got a different awareness of his engagement. Now, when he did that, what did that do for you? Well, that kind of encouraged me. Or did he, with the way he was himself, did you want him to do something different? Well, no, I just wanted him to be himself. Like, you watch what people say about the other person, the grace they give other people to be themselves, right? They don't want you to go in there and try and be Tony Robbins. They want you to be Gurmeet. They want you to be you. Yeah. And when you try to do that, they can sense a falseness, right? So so start with the idea, well, when I jump ahead to the end, I'll just say this is a process. But the reality, this is one of the perception shifts I work with people on, is you cannot prove yourself. And what I mean by that, there's some things you need to do in your business and, with your family. Yes. But for example, I could give you my dance resume. I could show you my resume and my choreography resume. They're pretty extensive. I've been able to do a lot of wonderful things for just some amazing stuff. Created a off-Broadway stage show, worked with artists, Super Bowl halftime shows that I've been a part of as an artist, as a dancer, I should say. But someone might go, I don't like this guy, or, he's older now, or I don't like his style. Like, I can't prove that. I can say, but I can't prove it. Yeah. So that's one thing I really do two different ways, really drive home. I cannot prove. So, okay, if I can't prove that, what do I do? Well, all I can do truly is offer what I have in that moment. All the training I have is important, but in that moment, when I'm in the engagement conversation, I can only offer what I have. And I believe that gift of offering is the shift, because once you're able to understand you're offering something, then you realize that you start to understand it's not connected to your identity and who you are at your core. You release it, right? Someone likes, I offer someone my phone, they don't want it. Okay, I offer it to someone else, right? Yeah. I start to understand, I offered it. Oh, they didn't like it. Okay. It's not like, they didn't like it. Oh gosh. All that stuff that happens to us because we put too much attachment. So I lead towards these ideas of understanding you're offering something. And because now you get excited, I got something to offer. I'm going to offer what it is. There's so many things I say. Any one of these things gets me excited. So that's one of the central things that I lead people towards along this path. And within that, the idea of analyzing the moves and the grooves you have in your life. So that when I say it, it's a cute saying, it's not the move, it's the groove, but it really goes deep. I started teaching, I taught at University of Southern California for 6 years. And as an adjunct professor, I was there doing street dance history and culture, choreography and performance. And then I taught a lot of, hip hop classes, a lot of dance as well. And I had the students come in there and they would start the term off and say, hey, Shoes, my street name is Shoes, SHOOZ. And they would say, hey, what's the move? What's the thing we're going to learn? You're going to teach us this thing and that new thing and that thing. And I would say, hey, man, I'm going to do that, but I actually want you to learn how to dance. And they would go, what? They would kind of be somewhat a little offended, right? Because But I say, listen, like, okay, let's dance. I put on some music and we start dancing. And often, many of them would dance for about 15, 30 seconds and then they'd stop. And I would say, why'd you stop dancing? Like the music's still going. Like, what happened? They go, oh, well, I did my thing. I did my thing, And that's why I'd say, listen, that's good. But I think you're missing out on what this culture and this art form has to offer you. I said, you're thinking of this as something you have to do. You tried to do a set of things that were cool. But did you connect to anything deeper than that? Did you understand there's something larger that I call the groove? That it's not the move, it's the groove. And that actually the groove is the dance. That if you connect to the groove, the grounding in something larger than yourself, and you connect to that and pull back and let that guide you, then if I'm just doing a simple motion with my shoulders, I don't have to all of a sudden go, let me do this. I just do this. And then maybe I'll start on my own, I'll start to dip. On my own, I'll start to move around. I'll turn around and notice the circle. It will then I'll get those glimpses of greatness that start to fly in your head. You get that idea. And what if I did? And you start to feel these things beyond the emotion, but something deeper inside. That's the same process that you go through once you stop trying to lead with move. So just in clarification, so that in dance, move is easy to define. It's the twist, it's the running man, it's the reject, it's whatever it might be. But in life, what are moves? To me, and I let people share these moves, but moves are your resume. They are the letters behind your name. They are your personality. They are your knowledge and your training. Those things we do need them. Their moves are valuable. They're important, but they're meant to be replaced. They're not designed for lasting impact. If you go on a move mindset basis of doing things in your life or business, you're going to walk in the room, have a great point to say that point, and then get a response, and then be like, okay, what's the next thing I got to say now? That's going to, and then if it doesn't give you the response, you're going to be like, oh, okay. And you start to sweat inside because you're not connected to something larger, that you trusting the moves will come out as they were. And you're going to prepare. Sure, you're going to prepare your script, your slides. That's fine. But if you're just reciting them, you won't catch what's happening. You won't be able to read or know you got to shift or really engage because you're not being authentically there. It's a huge shift for people, but it comes from that place of knowing you have something to offer. And then you got to go back and do a lot of work on, people thinking I have nothing to offer. So that's a separate part of it, of just building people up in that.
Well, this is very important for business leaders. If you're a business leader, you're running a company in a leadership position, you got to know your moves. Everybody's watching your move. All your moves you make, even though it's a smaller move you're making, but that sets a direction for the whole company and for the whole team. So a lot of people's life is dependent on your moves as a business leader. So it becomes very critical. By doing those sessions, I take it those are team building sessions, those are communication sessions, those are helping people to connect with each other sessions. What are the changes, people told you that they made in their companies? What are the positive changes that you see there by going through the session people made in their businesses?
Absolutely. Well, on an individual basis, what people are noticing is, and again, I bring team building experiences. The individuals address their self-doubts, the anxiety and stress of what it is to just engage with people and clients or their fellow workers or whatever, or their employer or employee, right? So the stress, anxiety, the apprehension, the living small, the feeling restrained, the feeling I feel I can start to contribute more that will help the actual team. Now on the company side, and for the CEO and for the people that are bringing me in, they notice an immediate increase in morale and motivation and confidence.
People's confidence must go very up. That once they start moving, definitely the confidence skyrocketing.
Yes, and I address a lot of the isolation issue. The isolation and loneliness is really big right now. I mean, not just right now. I mean, not that it's a trendy thing, it's a horrible thing, but there's just, even the way we do business now, if you don't keep yourself aware of the need to get in the circle. Like I make sure every week, even though I'm already in the circle in my life and my thoughts, in the groove mindset, I make sure every week, at least two or more times a week, I get into I told you earlier, that I got into a networking event last night. I'll just make sure I'm getting in. I am stepping in the circle for discussions. You practice your points. You got to get your training down and what you're selling or what you're offering. But you've got to get in those conversations. There's no substitute for stepping in the circle for certain things. You can remain on the edge of imitation. What I would say, when you're there, you're kind of copying yourself, meaning repeating yourself, or you're imitating others. And you can quote succeed doing that. Meaning you can have a whole business and you're kind of just looking at whether you kind of stay back, but the levels that you could actually reach at another level of engagement and just inspiration doesn't happen without stepping in the circle and that wrestle with the groove itself when you're in your own space and with the conversations with others to just keep understanding what's your process when you have these conversations. Yes, you have points to do. Yes, you might have a great process, but are you really connecting in a way that it's going to last? Because as I said, if you enter the circle just full of ego that I got it all down, it's icky. People don't stay attached to that. And if you enter just defeated, again, it doesn't work. When you enter going, I'm just coming here. I'm excited. I am now choosing curiosity over fear. I'm choosing the circle over self. I'm choosing the groove over the move. I'm choosing wonder over worry. All these things it's choice. And I think once you get in that journey of groove, that's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that in the circle. I never looked around. I never looked up. I never took in the room. I was just kind of going in. I was walking in going, okay, let me make sure he knows my resume. Let me make sure he knows my resume. Let me make sure. And so I enter and that's all that's on my head. Well, you're going to be thinking. You're going to be overthinking. When you're thinking, you cannot be present, right? So it's not throwing those things away, but it's understanding that you're not engaged when you're in your head. You're not able to do so. And so we also see examples of the cognitive flexibility that starts to happen in employees and the leaders. What I mean by that is the ability to innovate and adapt, expands because you're getting in that process. There's certain things that I do that are freestyle improv things in a way, but guided through the groove so that people get that idea. And again, when I say freestyle, just so that's not some kind of strange thing, people hear the word freestyle, something they put it towards a rapper or maybe someone just doing improv. There's a sense of that. But when I say freestyle, in the culture that I come from and the culture that I bring in the analogies to business, freestyle is not winging it. Freestyle is not just trying anything, right? It's not just throw it against the wall. Now, sometimes that's part of an ideation, right? You'll throw up any idea. That's a different process. But in freestyle, in you stepping into freestyle in your life, your business, and how you operate, that is attached. It connects to who you're designed to be. It reflects something larger than yourself that you believe in, however that is for each person. So for example, if you were known, as a real, a calm, friendly guy that has good advice that says it in a nice way, but then you walked in the middle of a meeting, all of a sudden you changed and you were like, I don't know, trying to be just Mr. Comedian the whole time, or like, you came in differently, and we kind of go like, and maybe you were like going, free with that, but it'd be like, we kind of be like, that's not Gurmeet, that's not him. It's like if I went in a dance circle and I just lied on the ground and, flailed on the ground, like I'm being free, but that doesn't reflect me. Now, when you freestyle, then free for freedom, style for you, bringing you authentically into the conversation, into the engagement. But when you freestyle, you have to have a foundation. And so all your training and your knowledge and your structure and your beliefs and all that stuff, that's part of your foundation. But some people build their foundation around themselves. And then they're like this, right? You have to build the foundation, I like to say, put that layer of sand on the foundation so I can glide on the foundation. I can leap, but I know I'm going to land back on something that's real. Mm-hmm. So I watched you, quote, get more in a freestyle frame of mind. I might go, wow, I didn't know Gurmeet would do that. I didn't expect that. But man, that is so Gurmeet. That is so him. That is so, or I didn't know that was part of it, but I can see that. I get it. I see how we got there. So it should still reflect you, even though you are now free. But they go, I never saw that before, or I didn't expect that, or that was really cool the way you did that, right? But it still reflects. So freestyle is not a free for all. Freestyle is not just a winging it thing. So as we develop those exercises, I really bring that forth to people as well, that they're stepping into a place that still is connected to everything they've done, but they're not leading with a move mindset. They're not entering. That they realize for the engagement in this world today, what do people want? Authenticity. You hear it again and again, and the word goes around and around. They want authentic engagement. And for that authentic engagement, that's a difficult ask. You're asking your employer, or you're asking yourself as a leader. You as the leader have to step in the circle first.
Yeah.
And that takes three things: vulnerability, courage, and risk.
Yeah. Well, not only stepping in a circle for business leaders, Bradley, they gotta get to the center of it. I mean, if you're not showing an example that what can, how it's done, how people supposed to, feel comfortable and step in a circle, all people around you, right? So business leaders have a responsibility, not only just step in a circle, but also be in the middle of it. So you can show the example to your staff. It's, listen, this is how, and let them judge you, let them criticize you, but you got to take a lead on that. So everybody feels comfortable around you. And so they can step in a circle as well.
Well, part of the circle is the circle of trust. And that is so valuable in a company. So the leader has to set that circle of trust, set that level, meaning I am, as the leader, I'm going to make sure that my employees, and this is not sort of some therapy session where everybody's weeping and moaning. I don't mean, not that might not happen, but it's more about in this workplace, in this environment, in my company, you can be authentically you. That reflects who you are. But when you step in, and if you say an idea, you try a new process, you want to suggest a new way of thinking, we'll hear you. Now, we may not go that way. I have the final say. I'm the boss. I'm the CEO. I'm the leader. But there's trust that you won't be mocked. And it sounds simple, but a lot of people, you get little bitings going on. People don't get that culture from the top down and build it from their own circles. It's a huge company. It might not be possible to talk to everybody, but within your departments, if you're not setting that idea that we are going to come together, we're going to have a trust that allows us to disagree with exuberance. We're going to bring in ideas. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to really challenge each other because we trust that we're going to be like, oh man, you're right. That was great. And then we're both committed to that idea. We're both strongly, have more commitment to that process because we were all heard, and we're going to do this. But if it's not there, if you've not built that thing by leadership to say, this is how it works. I'll walk in and I will, be vulnerable in different ways, mainly to show you that I will bring my authentic self in my good and bad ideas, because I want to engage you. I brought you in this company. I don't want that linear path that created workforces that were non-thinkers, just workers. That's the model that we've used for many years. I want workers that are thinkers, that are visionaries. Now, some we're all designed differently. Some have more vision than others. Some have to be the executors and the people that get the job done in a different way. So we're not all just in a dreaming state. But even in that, is there that ability that I'm pushing you to bring all you can offer, so that I will get a piece of that, the group will get a piece of that, our company will grow, and we'll do something beyond what we ever dreamed.
Well, this is where the innovations come from.
Yes.
From the ideas, right? If you're going to block that, you're not going to get the innovations that you need. That and most of the knowledge, business leaders don't have all the knowledge how to sell the product, how to create the product, how to create services. Employees do, the teams does, right? Because they deal with that on a daily basis, right? So I think what I'm hearing it from you is creating that environment where the ideas are welcome, good or bad, but people are hesitant about bringing the ideas put forward. And find the innovation wherever the innovation, the idea can lead to the innovation. Use that idea to grow a company, grow the individuals, or grow the teams forward, right? But you got to create that environment for people to be able to feel trusted and comfortable to bring that idea forward.
Well, yeah, and actually, one of the things that's really a direct example. So I mentioned briefly that when I was first got to LA and I wanted to be surrounded by the culture and I wanted it all to be around, I created this gathering that grew into a movement called the Grooveloos, and it also created this launching pad for just countless artists in the industry. Well, I didn't audition people. Now this is a little different than a job. Obviously, in a job, you're going to need to recruit, and you need to fill roles. But it was based on relationship in that time when I was doing it. I was meeting people, getting them sometimes referrals. There were referrals. That was part of the process. But I would see someone that I saw that I was what I saw them do in the circle, that connection they had that was really something that was vibrant that they offered. I went, oh, I love that. I love that. I started bringing people around that even though we had, oh my gosh, many differing viewpoints and ways of approaching things, we all were united by this desire to jump in that circle and work it out to get to ourselves. And we would be more impressed, and this is more of an inside thing, when we would see, like, the outside audience might watch someone and they do a bunch of great moves and flips and whatever, and that's part of the dance. And they might go, woo, but we actually got more connected to people that were like, it could be simple. It could be very like a small thing, but we saw that they were connected to something deeper and they were really in it. They weren't move to move. And so, but that example of the group is exactly that was one of my I didn't know at the time, was one of my main analogies I went through of me seeing this groove theory. Because when it thrived, when we were thriving, I was the leader. I was giving the vision, but I realized these people are amazing. These were the top, street dancers, breakers, poppers, lockers, some poets, different actors that would come by, because some actors would come by, they're working on a film, they wanted to get more free for their role, or they're working on a certain dance film or whatever it might be. The more that I pulled back and guided them to be and offer what they had, the more I understood that, the better we became. That I was really guiding them to release what they had with direction, with leaving a bit of space for them to have me go, oh, I didn't see it over here. That's great. And what I call groove orchestration, I call myself a freestyle activator, a groove orchestrator, and a believer in the greater. And in the groove orchestration, orchestrating the groove is, because of my background in my family upbringing and the dance culture, I'm pretty comfortable with what someone might see as chaotic situations where it's just like stuff going over. And I pull back and I'm able to go, that's amazing. And that could go here. And if that guy just did that a little more, and then I start to pull it out and just and give the room, but it was because instead of saying, stand still, wait till I tell you what to do. Now, sometimes that's necessary in military operations. It depends what you're at. But if you're looking to get things out of people, that will not do it. You will only then get as much as you have to offer. You will only get as much as in your head. But when you kind of go, okay, guys, here's the shape. Try that over there. Oh, I love what you're doing. I'm going to come back. That's cool. Let me take this there. Oh my gosh, I wanted to go here, but you guys took me here. That was my training for years. And so whenever I come to even my organizational sort of corporate side of things, I really implore that idea that you're there. Obviously, you're hiring all these people. Sure, some are in the factory making a widget, but many people, why are they there? Do you not want them to be all that they're designed to be and feel enough confidence to bring that forth boldly? And then be okay if you say, that's a great idea, I'm not going to use it, but they're okay. They understand the setup, that they're still part of the circle. They're still in that circle. And now they're in the center. And the center feels different. Again, I don't want to overlook that. The center is different. When you step in the center, all the focus, the energy, there's a lot of science around what's happening with the people looking a certain direction. But stepping into that place, if you take it as an invitation towards stepping into more who you're designed to be and all you have to offer, and then where that's going to bleed out to something greater than all of us and for the company, it's an amazing thing. And that's why I do spend time working with people on what perceptions they have. As a matter of fact, I have on my website right now, and we'll share that in a link, a link towards, I just talk for a little bit. Well, actually, it's about maybe 15 minutes about just some perception shifts that you can make about why you don't enter the circle, what it is that you're doing, that you can even address today. And we can discuss maybe a couple of those before we
I think it's 5 steps. Is that what we're talking about? The 5 steps on a website that you listed?
Yeah. So I
The
listed
5 keys, right? 5 keys.
I did 5 keys to perspective shifts you can make for stepping in any circle. Now, there's many more than those 5, and they're deeper layers, but just I'll touch on them.
Okay.
The ones, and some of that we've kind of mentioned in some ways as well. But the idea that everyone's looking at me, because that's one of the things people, I can't step in that circle. Everyone's looking at me.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is it's just not the case. And what I mean by that is when you're in the center of the circle, if I'm on, and that could be when I say the circle, right? If I'm on a stage and everybody's out in the audience, that's still in the circle, right? The circle's an analogy. We're not always in a perfect circle, but that's the feeling, right? That's the idea to start to embrace that I want to connect with those people. So if I'm in the center, if I'm there, even if everyone's looking at me, right? And they're intently looking at me, where our eyes look shows the direction of our focus, but it does not have, it has very little to do with where our minds are. Because, for example, people listen to this podcast, right? Some are multitasking around the kitchen, around the office. Some are watching or listening in the car. As I say something, they go, "Oh, that's a good idea. I could think of that over there." So they're listening, but we drift off to other things, or we go, "Oh, I could apply that here." Well, what did you say? What did you say? Let me write that down. Or they go, "Man, I think I left the stove on at home."
The thoughts are going somewhere else, right?
Yeah. So you have to, if you know that's in your life, then you have to remember, as I'm walking forward, these people, as engaged as they may be focused on me, because I'm the leader of leaders, they're human. We're not, the intention is not there. Plus, generally speaking, the other one is that if they're in a circle and you're walking in a circle, generally speaking, they're for you. People, I've auditioned a lot of people over the years when I was doing a lot of productions, and talent walks in and you see them kind of like, they're thinking that you're not really for them. Unfortunately, when you're even as a owner of a business, you may be done like 50 interviews and you're just like, "Oh man." So you're kind of sitting there a bit like this, and the person that's in there is like, "Oh man," but that has nothing to do with it. You're assuming things because, I say you're assuming what the resting face is. People have different resting faces. When you go to something that's exciting, you don't sit there the whole time at a movie and just do this the whole time. You might just be like this. Even though you're really engaged, you might be there. So that second one is just assuming that the where they're coming from, the resting face, you're saying what it means. Besides not knowing their thoughts, you're assuming their expression, and you're forgetting that they're for you. They're truly, if you're there, people, there's a few haters, maybe always, but generally the people there, if you're in a circle, they're like, believe me, they're like, "Man, I hope this guy's good." I remember doing auditions for things and walking in and realizing that they're sitting there all day. They're hoping this is the guy. They're like, "Please."
They want you to be successful.
Want you to be. So that's that. The other ones that I mentioned on is when you're in the circle, you can think that you can forget within that same process that people in the audience or that are watching you, they're not only thinking of their thoughts, they're not only having a certain resting face, they're wondering what they would do. They're thinking, how would I do what he's doing? What if it's an engaging interaction, which is more real in the business world, right? You're having a conversation. What if I get called up to speak? So they're actually not even there. They're looking, but they're going, "What am I going to do? What would I do? How would I do this?" Well, they're
the own fears coming out.
So there's a percentage of the audience that is for you. You don't even know it. There's a percent of the audience that is often of the thoughts. There's a percent of the audience that is wondering about, how they would do it. And now one of the more important ones is you, by getting in the circle. Yes, you have to make these choices, as I mentioned before, choosing the curiosity or fear, understanding it's an invitation, not just for you to speak and share with your company, but for you to step into who you're designed to be. These processes of stepping in again and again is where you kind of go, "Oh, why does that feel weird? Why do I get nervous here? Oh, let me address that. Oh, that's weird. That wasn't true. That perception I had, that was not true. Oh, I went in, I walked out." Just like when people go do a presentation, for example, you might do a presentation And at the end of it, in your head, you think, that was the worst. So you do this, you go, oh, or you go, oh, can I do that again? And the people watching were like, that was great. What do you mean? That was great. What you decided to tell them what happened to you when they were engaged. And so this process, once you realize, oh, I'm training to trust, as I said earlier, who I am spontaneously is often who I spent the most time practicing to become. I'm training in this. So when I start to understand, oh, I have to go back and forth. Okay, this time I got a bit of that. Got a bit of that. Okay, I'll approach it this way. It's a long-term game. It's a journey around the circle and this ever-expanding circle. It doesn't end in this one moment. So that's that. The last one I'll just say is it's not all about you, right? There's part of that's greatly for you because you're going to, I believe, step into more of who you are and get into that place of just energy and confidence and motivation and joy and can't wait to contribute and learn more about what that is, but also to play the melody, meaning like a jazz band, right? The bass player plays a little bit here, then the keyboard player. It's not me the whole time because I feel I want to say it's kind of starting to get that awareness of the groove and awareness of the flow of how it's going. Oh, okay, I'm pulling back. He's in. Okay, now I'm in. Okay, now let me support. Let me engage. Let me pull back. Let me ask a question. It's starting to understand that because it's not all about you. As you do this, you're encouraging your other workmates or other people that you're talking to that you're trying to encourage to be more productive. Let's say you're a coach and you're wanting to bring it's about that person. We all know that when you change your attention from yourself to someone else, the actual release of all the apprehensions is incredible. Meaning, if I'm like in my head, I suck, I'm this, I don't know. But if I go, let me help this man, let me help this person. I put my focus there. I get in that kind of servant mindset. Then I'm not thinking about my stuff. I'm like, he needs help here. This guy, I need to help this person. So it's not about you. And if you can realize I walk on that stage in front of the lights, or I step in the conversation, or I walk in my boss's office, or I need to contribute for the new things we're doing. This is about them. How can I contribute? Because I need to help this process, this larger vision of my boss, of my CEO, of the planner, or I need to help this person in front of me. So now, as I do it, I'm going to encourage the person around me, as we talked earlier, that they see me step in. So I'll try. And then larger than all that, it's not all about you. That last point is that, so not only are you connected to that sense, that other sense of that morale and that place you're getting to, we realize we're connected to something larger than all of us. So something that we're affecting as we honestly and with the right intention step into this desire to do things together. There's something that goes much bigger than us. It's a tapestry we're woven into that matters beyond us. So I'll just say that's something. Those are just some quick little touches on those 5 points. And I do a video about that that's free on my site. You can click to, or I think I'll send you the link for that as well.
Yeah, I'm going to include a link below the video as well, so people can go access those 5 keys, on your website as well, or watch the videos, whatever works for them. Very interesting. I think the time where we are, especially in Canada, I saw the numbers yesterday on mental health issues. What we gone through COVID. I think, as you mentioned, isolation or locking ourselves in at home caused huge spike in mental health issues and health challenges for a lot. Not only for kids, for employees, for companies. And I think what you just mentioned, that using your approach, practical approach. With the circles and communication and improving engagement, it kind of helps a lot with those challenges, right? So I think companies got to use some of those. A lot of companies are working from offices now, but office, in person, definitely they got to use some of this stuff. So it's more interactive, more conversational, more human. End of the day, more connects people more often. So definitely, I think this will help in that dealing with the challenges for isolation and mental health challenges for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I like to say, even in that way within the company, you've got some people that are boomers that are the bosses or the employer of the Gen Z or the millennial, and they're like having a hard time communicating, and the reality is that generation, especially this youthful generation, they're not looking forward to stepping in the cubicle. They want to step in the circle. So when I bring what I do through Groove, interactive, engaging, somewhat immersive with the analogies of the culture and other elements I bring in, it's immediately getting you involved in a way that's not lecture based and formula based. It's formula. There's a process I take you through, but it's free in there, and it's the benefit for the people sending their team to, let's say, a workshop that I would do for their team, is it's alive. It's going to be an engaging process, interactive team building, interactive process towards a goal to help the company, but a different process than what they may be getting. And I think that is powerful. And for the isolation, we know, I mean, the Surgeon General is talking about what that isolation is doing to people's, not just their mindset, to their feelings of depression, sadly, suicide, all these things that are happening. We've got to engage people beyond giving them things to do, but get them involved in what they are.
Well, there's moves to it. There's a physical element to it. Definitely, it's entertaining. It's engaging. It's moving people. And when you move people around, it's fun. It's an energy flows, right? And it definitely people build up much better bonds with the team members.
Oh, we have a lot of fun, and really, I mean, at the end of the day, in some regards, you're getting into that place where you're remembering that, the play, the curiosity, the wonder that we used to have. We want to bring that back to the workplace in a way that makes sense. All that play means, back now, people, we do a lot of, the idea of play. When you're a kid, we all did that stuff. We played, which means we just tried stuff. Now we call it art, so people feel disconnected from that word. I'm not artistic. No, we all have design in us. We all do these things, reminding you of that in different ways, but more towards a purpose of engagement. And I did want to say as well that I work with people in sort of three ways. I have these live engagements and activations and team building experiences that vary for different teams, different groups of people, different coaches, different companies, different individual people. But then I also do speaking engagements where I share bring that idea to disrupt, to getting people understanding this groove and what it is. And then I'm designing as well digital courses that are coming in the new year. So that's sort of the ways. So I'm grateful to always connect to an audience and bring the groove, share the idea of groove theory with others.
Yeah, I know this is a great help for a lot of business leaders. I know a lot of my colleagues, we all planning for next year where we're going to do, business leaders, they have the objective to move the companies forward, to grow back to the revenue levels we want to grow to. They're building a strategy at this time of the year for the next years. I will definitely recommend, I learned so much from you. I had no idea that how the art of dance could be used in a corporate world to help people to move the companies forward or teams forward. But again, it's a new perspective for me. I learned so much from you. I think the business leader, they gotta talk to you. I'm going to put a link below for your website. They should reach out to you, connect with you, have a conversation with you, have a discussion with you. How could that be incorporated into their next year's process of strategy to build their companies back to where it should be? But yeah, no, definitely it's one of those things that we can do as many online sessions on as many training we want to, but unless you put people in a room and you move them together and you build that kind of trust, the training does not sit well. So if they can combine those two, training and your team building exercises, I think that will go long way for team members.
Yes, and I'll just say that I also take this online as well. I have ways that I'm able to do this for groups online. Obviously, it's always beautiful to be all together, but there are actual things in the circle of virtual that we do as well. So thank you so much. It's been a great time. I'm so glad we connected. And again,
beautiful.
Go up there, Toronto. Hope you guys stay. I'll be staying a little bit warmer than you this fall. So,
hey, what is the best way for people to find you? How can the people connect with you?
Yes. So you can go to my website, which is my name, bradleyrapier.com. bradleyrapier.com, BradleyRapier.com. And on the site is my links to LinkedIn, Instagram, all that good stuff. And then on the site, you can click on the top right corner, and there is an actual link. It says the 5 shifts, and you can just watch a free video where I kind of repeat in a little more depth as to some of these points I just mentioned for those perceptions that we can do to help us to step in any circle. But I look forward to coming with you, joining with you people, bringing something fun and different, interactive that leads towards something that's going to raise that productivity, morale, and raise that confidence, bring the unity and trust, and then bring out the individual growth and dynamic things that we have inside of ourselves to contribute and step into a place in our own lives where we're not living with that move mindset, and we understand it's not the move, it's the groove.
It's the groove. Yeah, no, very interesting. And next time we do this, we gotta do it in person, because we're building a studio as well, just beside our office. podcast studios. So, it's going to be good enough studio so we can do some dance stuff there as well. So we're going to do it in person. So I'll reach back to you. Maybe mid next year, we'll do same discussion in person, and we'll bring some business leader as well and as an audience. So, and we'll chat there.
That would be fantastic. I would love it. I'd love it.
Beautiful. Hey, I want to acknowledge, thank you so much for time. I'm going to include links to your website and to your LinkedIn page below the video. People can reach out. I will definitely encourage business leaders, go have a conversation with you, have a chat with you, see what opportunity opens up for both of you. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your time. I know we got a little bit longer than we expected, but it was such an interesting discussion. I enjoyed it. So thank you so much for time. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.